Guys, you can't. I request you not to call in while I'm on an Insta live. Like, it disconnects and disrupts the entire call. You can only request to join the chat, and I will add you if I can. If not, you need to wait till the end, till the comments section. I'm going to get Sunil back on the call. Sunil, I'll get you back. I apologize. I am so sorry. Obviously, you viewers who do not still understand how Instagram works. So I'm
Okay,
trying. I'm
I
so
just
sorry.
panicked. I was wondering something happened.
No,
Okay, okay.
nothing to panic about. Nothing to panic about. Just
Mm,
adjust your screen a little bit. I've
mm,
posted the first. I didn't want to lose the first half of our conversation, so I posted that, and
okay.
we will post this as the official second part of the third conversation. But before we
Mm.
continue, guys, whoever's watching, if you try to Instagram call me on video while I have a live going on, you will end up interrupting what I'm trying to do and make it extremely difficult for us to continue. So if I request you all to keep your comments and questions to the end, I will be happy to have you join the chat. Okay, so yeah, Sunil, please continue about Satya. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
So the whole issue here was how would Satya, after the surgery, where would she live? You know, like most trans people, one post surgery, where do they live? They usually live with the trans community itself.
Right.
Very few, if at all, can't even think of anybody who has gone back to the family that they were born in and that has been accepted. So that has only started happening off late.
Is
Off
this
late, yes, but I'm
acceptance or because they themselves are not interested in going and living that traditional
no, they would see because see the thing is like Sudha's case and all that. Mother wouldn't have a problem, sister didn't have a problem, but the two brothers and father, please leave. Packed her bag, put it outside the house, and said, leave.
Wow. Okay.
You brought bad, ill name and bad name and reputation and all that. So we live here, we're decent and this and that. We come from a good family. All this dialogue is usually said. And then, so to avoid that confrontation, that scene, that nastiness, what they usually do is post surgery, they're always with the trans family that they're part of. So
Right.
because the surgery is paid for by the trans family, they save
Oh,
up money.
wow. Okay.
So if I adopt a daughter, then I have to make sure that the daughter goes through all the procedures and I look after all her expenses. I'm there, because as the mother, I have to take care of her completely, financially and otherwise, emotionally, and always, so that mentally, so that you're there for that person. The reason they're doing this is also what you see is once they get into the surgery mode and they're transitioning, they sever all the ties with their family because there will be one or two members who don't accept.
So in Satya's case, just coming back to that, the previous his name was Satya. He had planned to change it, or what? Can you just?
So Satya, I see the thing is we know her as Satya. Her real name was something else.
Okay.
So Satya was a name which was ambiguous enough to be male, and she could go
And
both ways. So we just
stalling.
yeah.
So when you said you were stalling, I'm curious to know what was the outcome that you would have liked. Like, would you have wanted her never to take that decision? Because that's wow.
For me, because I'm a practical person, I would look at all the repercussions, and as an individual, how are you going to live? See, if this happened in the past 5 or 6 years, yes, possible. I wouldn't have had an issue because medically we are completely adept and we have the technology and the expertise to deal with it in a holistic way. You can't just, like you said, earlier on, it was just removal of the genitals. And
Right.
then how that individual survived, how she coped, managed with all the urinary tract infections and all that, the issues that happened with it was up to that individual. Because there's no connection with the person who did the surgery. It's illegal. So thank God that the government came around and supported us and understood the gravity of the situation. We were losing individuals to, botched up, messed up emasculation
Volunteer
procedures.
So quality of life would take a dip. There's no post-operative, so there would be no rehabilitation of so that entire
He
process.
will be he will be lying down in a room and will be just being given something to keep her alive because it has to heal.
Oh my
You
God!
understand? She can't drink water because the urinary tract has to heal. So this
Wow!
is how bad it was. So they would not be given water for like for days.
Shoot,
It
that's
was and urinary tract infection, blockage of the urinary tract, not being able to urinate regularly as and when they want. It was extremely painful, blood clot. All these were the regular. This is just regular for most of them. So, and to think that they survived, it was amazing that willpower and that the energy, they had amazing willpower and of course the support because the older generation did it. So there was that implicit faith and belief that they would also survive.
were they aware that all of this would happen, or they would just like be so excited that they were transitioning, then sort of be like, oh my God, what did I do? Have you ever seen
See,
anyone regret it midway?
See, most of them knew what they were getting into because they were living with their older trans women. They were living in the family. They understood what the process required, and they would have also seen one of the seniors undergo the process. So when I get inducted into a family, there's already an elder sister of mine waiting to get the surgery done. So as a younger person who's just newly inducted, I will be part of the ceremony. I will see what is happening. I will see what that individual is going through.
I understand. Okay. Got it.
So you can't say, and these are all adults, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were completely aware. And because there was no other alternative, they didn't have a choice. This is the only way to go. Now with the medical fraternity stepping in and giving us this, complete support, it has become so stress. That stress has really mitigated that stress of, oh, we're going to lose this person. Will this person pull through? Will this person survive? What are the complications in the aftermath of the surgery? Even now there are. I mean, most surgeries.
Would you say with the intervention of the medical fraternity, and assuming this is a completely above board surgery done in the right
Yes,
way,
yes.
is it a big deal or it's not a big deal? Like, what would you compare? Is it like an appendicitis surgery, or is this
No,
much bigger?
no. This is extremely complex and complicated on various. It's not just the physical aspect. It is a psychological and mental aspect. It's an emotional aspect. Because the thing is, what you realize is now most trans women are going on to hormones. And
Right.
once they start on estrogen and hormone therapy, they have major mood swings. They become extremely emotional. They can go off. So it's a very troublesome period. And through that, to go through the surgery, so it's like a seesaw. It's a roller coaster for them. It is okay. The only thing you're sure of is the medical team will do their job.
Right.
But emotionally, psychologically, mentally,
Erratic behavior in people while they transition. I've seen some.
you can see that because a lot of them. In fact, recently I was counseling. I mean, I'm just having a chat, very open-minded chat with an individual married with 2 children in his 40s and wants to transition.
Oh, good Lord.
So the issue was, I said, do you know the implications of what you're going to do to not just your body, but people around? I said, you can't deny the fact that you were married at one point and
Correct.
you are the father of 2 children.
Correct.
What would happen to those 2 children? So I said, it's all fine. This is catch-22. I'm going to play devil's advocate. And I said, these are the questions I'm throwing out to you.
Yeah.
Do you think what you're doing is fair to those 2 children whom you brought into this world? You planned it, right? It was not one child, it was 2 children. So I was really cruel with him in that sense because I sat him down and I said, think over it. Don't rush into something. And he was already on his hormone therapy and he was having huge mood swings. And because of the pandemic, he was out of his job. I think he's working from home. Obviously salaries were less. And then he wanted to move out of the city and move to a different town. He's trying to relocate and start a life all over again. And all these happening, but his wife is extremely supportive. His obviously her family isn't. I'm
But, I mean,
assuming that
it's a lot.
no, because the kids are not like 1 or 2 year olds. There are like 7 and 8, I think, the boys.
This
So
is so
I was just thinking, I went into panic mode, and I'm saying, you know, I know people wake up and they realize and come to terms with their sexuality much later on. And there is a beautiful film called Normal with Jessica Lange, my favorite actress.
really.
It's a made for television film where Midwestern town, completely normal family, husband, wife with 2 children, girl and boy. And in his 40s, he's close to retiring. He's a factory worker. He's a regular guy. There's no, you don't even see a feminine side to him at all. But there's traces like he likes to look at what his wife is using cosmetics, and then with the wife's support, transitions.
Oh
I
my.
think flies to Bangkok, gets her surgery done, comes back and continues to live with his wife and children. It is the most emotionally, it was just like, trust Jessica Lang to come up with movies like that. She was brilliant. Everybody is brilliant in that film.
No,
It was heartbreaking.
I must find any. Do you know any of the? Is it on any of
It's
our?
called Normal. It's a very simple film. It's just called Normal, and it's one of those.
Oh.
The only reason I think it got any mileage thanks to Jessica Lange sticking her neck out and doing the role of the wife. Because otherwise, if it had been some new actress or a lesser known actress, I'm sure people wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a powerful, well-made film.
Because
It
people
was tough.
stories like Bruce Jenner becoming Caitlyn Jenner, which is a very different, which is which is not real life for most people.
Celebrity. I have issues over there, big issues with what is happening there. Let's not even go there. That's a position of privilege I don't even want to talk about. But talking about this regular person, regular middle class IT working man, suddenly deciding to change and flip over. So it's interesting. We have a common friend.
How did the wife support it? I'm very curious to understand.
See, the thing is, sometimes you just have to accept facts, right?
Oh,
what can you do?
When you say that, I always hate it, even when it has to do with this or it has to do with anything. I hate it when you tell me. I'm okay, but I'm hearing you. I hear you.
No, but the thing is, it was in his soul. He was so passionate about it. And I've been talking through with him for quite some time, on and off. And then off late, I've not heard from him for quite some time. Hopefully, he'll see this interview and realize I'm talking about him. And it triggers off all these issues. I said, you have to sit down and think about everybody else. It's not about you alone. See, look at me. I'm 55 and I'm a single individual. I'm not married, no children. I'm openly living a gay man's life. Tomorrow, if I decide, okay, this is it. I want to transition. I want to become a woman. My life is not going to endanger anybody else's.
Right.
To some extent, okay. I have a mom and that's it. And then whatever. But even if it's 40 or something and 30, 40, whatever, I'm not endangering another person's life, And I know it's unfair because they've come to terms with it, or product of the environment, of society, that the way they were living, they couldn't come to terms with this. And then suddenly these options opened up. Surgery, medical fraternity, infrastructure, all that in place. It's so much more doable and reachable. Unfortunately for him, he's almost 40. And, his situation is not a situation that I'm not even pretending to be a counselor. As an outsider, I just threw these at him and I said, it shakes me as somebody who's been in this, with working around gender and identity for so many years. Yeah. That for me, somehow it hit me in the gut because I was only thinking of that wife and the 2 children.
Your wife is on board, but there's no way they could explain this to the kids because, like you clearly said, it's not a position of privilege. It's just a normal, plain Jane these kids will have to continue to go to school and have friends, and like how
So imagine, see, I'm saying PTA and all that, and then he's growing his hair out and all. See, a guy growing out his hair with beard and all, it's like very cool, people have long hair. Nobody's going to even understand, that's the thing. So the issue is, look at it, and these are boys, it's tough. It's going to be really tough on them. I said, my question was this. I said, why can't you just live the life you're leading the way you want it? You want to express your femininity, express it. But do you need to put your body through all this at this age? In normal, that actor did it. I mean, that character did it at whatever age. He was in his 40s or even 50, I don't know. But really much older, the kids are grown up, and that's how old he was when he did it. But I don't know if that was a real story, it was a hypothetical story, I don't know. But obviously inspired from somewhere, and that they did the story, the film.
Of course.
But in this case, the first question I asked him, do you really need to do this? Because, I mean, if he was a single person, I wouldn't have come in the way. I would have just guided him to
in a relationship with another man. Was that what was this
nothing
about?
It was nothing to do. So usually it's something like that triggers it off. He was attributing it to abuse as a child. When he was younger, he was abused and all that. So very confused. I think there's a lot of sessions that he needs to do, because I'm on the phone, I'm long distance. As a common friend, I reached out to him because my friend panicked and thought something is going to happen. So let's get this person in touch with somebody who can talk him through this, So I told him to seek help, because he definitely needs professional help, and somebody has to walk him through the whole. It's not just about the surgery. See, with sex reassignment surgery, it's not just physical. It doesn't stop there, and that's something a lot of individuals don't factor in. Because what you see this in places like where it's a commune, they're all living together. My elder sister, my aunt, my mom, my grandmother, they've all done it. I can do it because I'm part of this family, so it's fine. I'm okay,
Right.
So then they go, and that's one lot who's already there and doing it. But for the individuals who are living with their families, with their parents, and who are educated and don't want to go out and change their lifestyle and live somewhere else, with people they don't know, they want to stay where they are, live their truth. So some people are blessed and lucky that their families have supported them.
Right.
So there are success stories like that. So this is where counseling and support groups come in, where we have to basically walk through the family, literally hold hands and help them get through that transitioning period and come to terms with their child's need before they do something drastic.
So, I mean, I want to bring this back to a little bit more data and logistics and, fact related. Like you said, we were talking about whether, let's just say Tamil Nadu, for example. Like now that, you're saying you've got the government support and whatever. I mean, would you say that there are still 50% of these operations are still, quacks, not who are...
No.
Or would you say that there
now,
is
nobody will take the risk, because when the government is there, they're giving it to you for free at a very subsidized rate or minimal, almost free. Government is there to do it. Nobody will go and get a butcher job done by some...
qualified for this. Like, can you just go and announce? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know how things are in the US, like, but what is the rule? What are the rules here in India with, how do you qualify?
So now, see, the thing is, because there are support groups like Sahodran and Tori and organizations that work around gender and all these issues where it comes to surgery, post-op, we have a network of community preferred practitioners where we've sensitized medical establishments, whether it's a small clinic, whether it's a government hospital, a department, or it's like an individual doctor. So we have a network of medical professionals in place who are there to support you. So the community knows how to go about it, And so if you have the money, they go to places like a private institution which will which they feel is better. In most places, either it'll be Bangalore or some in Cochin or somewhere up in the north. I don't know. There are places in Chennai also where private hospitals are doing it, but it's very few because this is extremely specialized. Like I say, no doctor or medical institution will jump it and say, okay, there's money in it, or let's just do it, because the ramifications of it are very far. People.
No, I just wanted to, because like you and I had talked earlier now on the gender reassignment issue, and then the fact that, we are living in I know this is for all our viewers going to sound like I'm taking a slight turn, but I'm not. Since we're living in a pandemic state and,
Okay, one more thing before you go into that. We've not talked about gender reassignment surgery for female to male.
We have not. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So that's one area that's completely great. We don't have the expertise. We don't have the know-how. So it's really sad because a lot of trans men are halfway through their surgery. They really can't, have not been able to go through it. It's a lot more expensive and more intricate and complicated a surgery than male to female. Female to male is
moving, right? Here you have to attach something. I mean, I'm sorry.
You have to create, once you're one side you're removing, male to female, you remove and remodel what is existing.
Right.
Female to male, you have to create. So basically you take flesh from the thigh and then you need to create the male genitalia. So it's a lot more complicated. It's a lot more difficult. The success rate is not so high. I don't know of hospitals and institutions in India that are doing it as of now, but I've met a lot of trans men who are so dissatisfied and unhappy because they've not been able to transition the way they see their counterparts transition from male to female.
So I have a question. Can you this is more scientific. Can you scientifically actually create sensation and all that in an area which did not exist before? Is that not like stem cell? Like, I'm just curious, like how do you, even if you were to create it physically, and I'm asking this in the most...
You're taking actual flesh from your thigh, so it's alive. So it has its nerves, its blood vessels and all that.
So you can actually
but the thing is, the sensation in the genital area is to arouse. It has to reach the brain.
Correct.
So you understand. So how that works, I don't know. So I'm not a medical person and I don't know how that works.
Right.
But that is a genuine concern for most trans people because will they feel
how you would replicate that? But then again, I'm not a doctor either, so I was just curious to know to know if it could be replicated to that extent.
So even with let's going back to male to female, how much of it does a trans woman feel like a woman? Like, is the sensation the same? Can they have an orgasm? And are all the feelings that occur in a woman naturally in the genital area? Is there some sort of semblance and similarity to post-surgery trans men and women? So these are issues that are still, I'm sure they're working on. But to a large extent, yes, I think a lot of trans women are happy. And it's very psychological because for them, the moment they transition, they're living their truth, and that itself is half the battle won for them.
I see.
And it's such a sense of relief. It is like, okay, now I just am myself. I live the way I want to live. So, it's for them, to a lot of them, it'll be secondary that, okay, I may not feel as fabulous as I did, as a woman would feel, sexually aroused and all those feelings that you get in the genital area. Maybe, maybe not. But then just the sense of almost being a woman, And
just take to their soul, if you will.
That is so strong, and that's what helps them get through. Yeah. And I think one or two incidents where like you asked me this question, did they regret it? And did they want to go back? I didn't answer that question. Yes, there have been individuals who regretted it.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? We can park the other
So
question.
one person who transitioned, this is earlier on. This is before sex reassignment surgery was available in Chennai. And I remember her saying, she looked at me and she said, I wish, it brought me to tears. She said, I wish Sahodran was there when I was young, because then I could have just lived as a gay man.
Oh, Lord. Wow. Okay.
So she had no other choice when she ran away from home was to join a trans community that just adopted her, gave her shelter, gave her a life. So she just went with the flow.
Right. And then
In her case, it was not this burning desire that I want to be a woman. Yes, she was feminine, and she was accepting of that, but she was okay with living the way she was. But then she became part of a system and a community where you had to fit in. You can't not do the surgery.
wow. Okay. So that's very hard. There's no going back.
That hit me, and so that's why, when I started Sahodran in '98, I feel so grateful for what has happened to me in my life. Every moment I just have gratitude, because people around me, the kind of pain and what they've gone through, it just makes it worth it. The journey has been worth it. Whatever I've been through, whatever I've been able to do has been so fulfilling, and I think this is one part that I cannot get emotional. It's when you talk about this, it's something that really triggers all, so it's very hard to talk about that journey, but it is, I can just say I'm just so happy that and feel blessed that I've been able to, in my life, in this life, that the few years that I've been able to do something, and if I could impact and make a change and help a few individuals, it's a blessing, because we live in such a, going to the next question, what you're going to talk, in such a selfish, self-centered, materialistic world where there is no sympathy or empathy for other living creatures, and that is really heartbreaking for me when I see the cruelty in mankind. And it's so ironic. You say mankind.
Can I
We are
take the
not
next question
mankind.
in this context?
So quickly, yeah.
Because I think because I think what you're about to say next is going to like very much segue into what we were discussing on the phone, and I think.
Yeah.
Amidst the pandemic, we've obviously seen, the world has been under siege, and people and companies and medical companies have rushed to get us a vaccine that works. So, I mean, as we know, the rollout was usually the rollouts of these take a few years, but they have managed to get it to market. And I'm living example, I've had my second vaccine already. So would you say
I've taken my first one, yeah.
So would you say that there is a difference in terms of the response to say HIV as a pandemic and epidemic versus
it hit me now.
COVID?
See, it hit me. So the moment, it hit me now, because suddenly I'm looking at this virus decimating populations across the world, irrespective of race, gender, color, whatever. It knows no barriers, and people were just dying. So immediately everybody got onto the job, and you have vaccines from different companies. People are working round the clock to save humanity. Okay.
Right.
Just because HIV in the early 80s was seen as an LGBT minority issue, we still do not have a vaccine. And
Continue.
that is something that struck home recently, and that's why I brought it up with you, that definitely all the medical institutions and research institutions, if they wanted to, they could have, I feel.
And you feel like that is still...
Huh?
And that's still a concern, right?
Yeah, so now we've come to the space where we have medical treatment where HIV positive people live healthy, normal lives like everybody else. Your viral load goes down, and you can live a regular life like anybody else. So the fear element has gone out, and it's no longer like a death sentence. Like, the moment in the early 80s when you said, when I started work was in 92, the moment you knew somebody was HIV positive, we lived literally under the stress of one day getting a phone call saying so and so is no more. And it's happened to me over the years. X is gone, Y is gone, D is ailing, failing health. You see people go. It's something that I can't talk about because it's happened to people from within the community. And now, just because this is a virus that has affected everybody, we have medication. People are working round the clock without a break, and they've got things. So it's amazing. I said, I'm so happy it's happened. I'm not saying otherwise. But then it made me look back and see, when I started work in 1999, 1992, my work with HIV started in 1992. It's 30 years.
Yeah.
This virus came 1 year back.
Yeah. No, and with that, I kind of wanted to keep this thread for our next episode, because I think it's a very big subject in terms of, HIV being something that concerns an at-risk community, or at least began with an at-risk community, and now COVID has a completely separate reaction because, it affects everyone. And I think that deserves its own session. So can we go ahead and take a few questions now? Because as usual,
Okay.
I have run the clock, but that is just because we are
Oh,
chemistry
God.
on fire. We are. So guys, now would be a good time for you to ask Sunil any questions. And yes, he loves you. And he will tell you he loves you himself. A lot of hi, hello, sirs have come while we were chatting. And
Okay.
obviously I had a few comments on the first section before we got cut off, but there were no questions there besides the fact that everyone is just thrilled to see you. So if you guys have any questions, we have discussed gender reassignment, the quality of it, the lack of quality as well. I mean, sort of.
And also the journey of how from where we started with nothing to where we are now, So we're in a nice place now. We're in a much better place now.
Definitely saying we are definitely in a better space, but also making people aware that it's not a whim decision. It's not a nose job necessarily. And I think it deserves a lot more thinking and a lot more ramifications and a lot more beyond just the self, which is what you were saying, that, it's not just affecting you, especially if you want to continue to live with your family. So guys, we will be back. I will announce the date for our next session shortly on our next poster. I do not have a date with the man yet, but I will be talking to him shortly, and we will be back any time in the next upcoming week with the next episode. Srini Subramaniam, hello. He says, yes, my darling, both of us love you. He says hello to us. And Srini, we would love to have you join us in the conversation next time and, hear your perspectives, since you work with so many people, especially, in the fashion industry, how it is, perceived is, do we see a future with trans models? I mean, is that even something that we could fathom? Is this something that we could even think about? I mean, Sunil, it's something I've been meaning to ask you, but we already have too many burning questions. So I've decided to park it. So with that, let's sign off. Sunil, I have both sections up. I will speak to you shortly right after this, and we will get both these episodes up and live, and be back in the next promise 7 to 8 days with our next episode. And so that was gender reassignment, where we were, where we are right now, and hopefully be in a better place, in the near future. Okay. Much love.
Bye-bye. Thanks to everybody. Love to all.
Everyone. Love.